One Sunday, I needed something from the grocery store. Then I looked at the time. It was already after 12:30. Too late. Where I live, some grocery stores are open on Sunday morning, but they close around lunchtime. And I don't drive, so going to another town isn't always easy. At that moment, I really missed Paris. When I lived there, things like this were much easier. I could take the metro almost anywhere. Stores stayed open later, and I didn't need a car. Now I live in a small village in the south of France. My life here is less convenient in some ways, but it is also quieter and more peaceful. Public transportation was one of the things I liked most about living in Paris. I could take the metro, a bus, or a train almost anywhere. I didn't have to worry about driving or finding a parking space. Shopping was easier too. There were supermarkets, bakeries, restaurants, and shops almost everywhere, and many stayed open late, so I didn't have to plan my shopping carefully. If I forgot something, I could usually find another store still open. Finding work was also easier. Paris is a big city with many companies, restaurants, hotels, and offices, so there were more job opportunities. But it was also much busier. The metro and the streets could be crowded, especially during rush hour. People were often in a hurry because of work, appointments, and trains to catch, and they didn't always have time to stop and talk. This doesn't mean people in Paris were unfriendly. When I had the chance to talk to people, many of them were very nice. The lifestyle was simply different. People were busier and more private, and often spent their weekends with family or close friends. Because of this, you could live next to someone for a long time without knowing them very well. After I moved here, I had to change many of my habits. Transportation was one of the biggest changes. Here, there is no public transportation at all. There is no metro, and there are no buses. In Paris, I could leave home without thinking much about how I'd get somewhere. Here, I have to plan it first. Do I need a car? Can someone take me? Knowing how to drive matters much more here than it did in Paris. Shopping is different too. There are fewer stores, and they close earlier. So if I need something on a Sunday, I have to go in the morning or wait until the next day. When I first moved here, it took time to adjust, but little by little, I started to notice another side of village life. Life here is much quieter. There are fewer cars, fewer people, and less noise. And because people aren't always in a hurry, there's more time to stop and talk. I know my neighbors better here. Sometimes a simple hello becomes a 10-minute conversation. They sometimes share extra tomatoes or figs from their gardens. It's a small thing, but it gives me a stronger feeling of community. I don't think people in the village are friendlier than people in Paris. I think the lifestyle is simply different. In Paris, people are busier and more private. Here, life is slower, so people often have more time for each other. And those small conversations can make a big difference. Now that I've experienced both, I can see the trade-offs. Sometimes I still miss Paris, especially being able to go almost anywhere without a car and not having to think so much about store hours. But there are things about my life now that I wouldn't want to lose. The quiet, the slower pace, and the feeling that I know the people around me. Convenience and happiness aren't always the same thing. Having everything close to you can make life easier, but a slower life can give you something else, more peace and more time to connect with people. So, which one is better, Paris or village life? For me, there's no simple answer. They're very different, and both have something to offer. By the way, did you notice how many times I compared Paris and the village while telling that story? quieter, busier, more convenient, less crowded. That wasn't an accident. Let's look at how those comparisons are built. For many short adjectives, we add er. Quiet becomes quieter. Village life is quieter than life in Paris. Slow becomes slower. Life here is slower. If the adjective ends in y, we change the y to I and add er. Busy to busier. Paris is busier than the village. Easy to easier. Shopping was easier in Paris. For many longer adjectives, we use more. Convenient becomes more convenient. Paris was more convenient for me. Peaceful becomes more peaceful. Village life is more peaceful. Difficult becomes more difficult. Getting around without a car is more difficult here. We can also use less for the opposite. Village life is less convenient in some ways. And we compare numbers with more and fewer. There were more job opportunities in Paris. There are fewer stores where I live now. Quick recap. Short adjectives, quieter, slower, busier, easier. Longer adjectives, more convenient, more peaceful, more difficult. Opposite, less convenient, less crowded, less expensive. Try it yourself. Think about 2 places you know, maybe your hometown and where you live now. Tell me, which do you prefer, city life or village life, and why?